Welcome to Uber Cube, the place we discuss all things Peasant Cube, but with Avatar, Ninja Turtles, Spiderman, everything that came out Magic in 2025.
Spider Peasant.
Does
Whatever a Spider Peasant does.
And we've got our good friend Sammich on here. So all of you lovely Peasant Cube designers, buckle up because we have our Pro, just our
S tier, elite.
I don't know anything about this actual format, if I'm being honest with you. So I've asked him to be the forward speaker because we're just going to let this one ride. But what we're really looking for, before we have our drinks, we're about to do that, is we want to know, was Spider-Man a success for a Peasant Cube environment?
Okay, well, Spider-Man is a huge miss, in my opinion, as a set. But it did have a few cards that actually work really well in the Peasant Cube environment. In this case, I don't know how you want to go through them. I can go through them.
No, not yet. We just actually want to know if you're a huge Avatar fan, and if so, what is your element that I think they're elements? I don't know. What do you pick? I mean, choose your team right now.
I have no idea. I have
Are you water, fire?
Zero Avatar.
Like if they made a Captain Planet set, would you buy that as well too? Because Earth, Wind, Fire. I didn't even understand what was happening in the Avatar set because I am old. So let's have our drinks, and we're going to talk about how this Universes Beyond / in universe and all these things that have happened, because it's been a while since we talked about it, how they have impacted the universe of Peasant Uncommon environments.
All right, Sammich, let's go with the drinks. First of all, let's crank this one out. What you got?
Yeah, still drinking that Southern Star Double Rye. I really, really love that stuff. So
it's good stuff. Yeah, and I will just say, Anthony and I, we got a Voodoo Ranger.
I'm going to have that Angel's Envy over there sitting there in that beautiful bottle. Could you pour me a little bit in that beautiful glass sitting over there? Because I am sick and tired. I mean, I'm so tired.
I've used this glass.
I don't care. I'm pretty sure that proof will kill that.
I love some Angel's Envy.
I love Angel's Envy.
It's very good.
All right. As I'm furnishing Anthony with this glass of Angel's Envy, we kind of made a bit of a joke comment, or Anthony did, about Spider-Man. And
turtles and pizza. And
it doesn't seem to have been a particularly well-received set, right? So I want to ask the question, first of all, is there a pattern as far as how sets are well-received by the wider community with how you guys kind of see those sets impacting your cubes? Chris, I'll start with you.
Oh, absolutely. For me, it did. It delayed me from looking at this set at all. I want to be honest. The fact that this set was as bad as it was for the community as a whole. I mean, it was like a 180 card set, I think, and it was had, I don't know, 159 legendaries in it. It felt like, at least, and it's just like really delayed me from looking at it. And it's only been in the past couple, like 3 to 4 weeks, that I actually really went and gave a lot of these cards a look. And there were actually some decent hits for this that I know the Peasant community has been using. And definitely, I will be honest, the reception of the set did affect me. I'm not sure how Anthony feels, but I know.
No, so I pondered upon this actually on the ride here, right, when I'm thinking about the nail in my tire in addition to that. But I was thinking, I feel a bit hypocritical about Universes Beyond. The more I've thought about it, and I've kind of poo-pooed upon like Airbender, whatever, Avatar or something or another, because again, I'm old, or I poo-pooed upon Spider-Man, which I love Spider-Man. I love the franchise. I love the movies. Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 3, he's doing the dance. Best scene ever as Venom. Yeah, that was sarcasm, by the way, if you're like doing your eyes.
I really hope so.
It's not great. Or even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was like a quest for me when I was a kid. Ultimately, what I have come to discover, and I think you actually outed me for this, with Universes Beyond, I seem to gravitate towards something. Like, I'll complain about one, and it's been a lot of complaints lately, and then I come across a set, and I'm like, oh, well, that kind of fits what I like. It's become what I like. And that's the unfortunate part of what it is. And I imagine everybody feels the feels. Like, I am by no means excited about Star Trek. But I do believe 100% when Star Trek comes out, there'll be amazing things from Artifact Cube. But I am not a Trekkie. I am a Star Wars guy. That, pour one out for Porkins again. That's just where I land, right? And that's the universes beyond that we're in right now, where the IPs are actually tilted towards your own personal experiences and desires and age groups and demographics. This is where I land, right? And so I liked 40K. You know why I like 40K? Because it made my black section of my artifact cube actually legitimately functional with the Necrons, and they were badass. And I don't play 40K. They just were sick, and they fit my genre that I'm trying to do. Robot-looking things. That's all I cared about. Don't know what Necrons are until PK came on our episode and explained to me what 40K was. And I loved until they actually hit, a certain person with a baseball bat, God rest his soul, Glenn with Negan. I liked...
Spoilers, Anthony.
I know. I liked Walking Dead. And I loved Walking Dead. And when the first Universes Beyond came out, it was the Walking Dead set. And I remember everybody just kind of like, don't buy that. And I'm like, I just want Daryl. Daryl's not even in the graphic novel. I just love the idea of a guy that would hunt squirrels with a crossbow. Fantastic. So I slammed a jam at that into a commander deck and made it wonderful. And I remember getting blamed and the world set on fire. Like, you're part of the problem, Anthony. But I actually like Walking Dead. So
Daryl still dies. On site.
Daryl is very much alive.
Daryl dies on site. And maybe this...
No, Daryl is 100% still alive. They have spin-offs. This is the problem.
Dead. He dies. But maybe there's more of an alignment with the cards and the mechanics than there are the themes themselves. Would you argue? Because I will be honest, I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings guy. I like the movies. I watch them.
You read the
They're
books.
fine.
I didn't even read the books.
I have read the books. It's been many, many years.
I'm a Game of Thrones person.
The books.
They make that. I'm going to eat it up.
I've got books, I've got fiction fantasy series that I believe are far superior than Lord of the Rings, as much as Lord of the Rings is fine.
Game of Thrones.
Okay, Anthony, you're banned. Please leave the house. But either way, I think
there's going to be some weird cards in there. Let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
do they resonate more with the cards?
Especially involving the Lannisters.
If anybody's wondering if this is a Universes Beyond episode, it is not.
Yeah.
I'm going to label you. You just go ahead, Chris, Sammich, tell me I'm wrong. You're a min-max guy. You like power. You like the most efficient cards. We have established this in the past. You like cards that do things, game pieces that play powerful magic. And you don't... What the art has on it, with a few exceptions, typically doesn't resonate with you as a person. You'd rather the card read and play as the card, and you're less concerned about whether or not it has a Ninja Turtle on it or not, or a slice of pizza, or a bagel, or a pigeon, or I can keep going.
Yeah.
Does it mean anything to you?
Like I said, I may not love it that it has a Ninja Turtle on it or whatever, but it's not. If the card is good, I'll probably use it. You know what I mean? It's just so yeah.
So how's this shakeup that we just talked about? Because you're almost art aside at this point, right? You're not doing the curation based on the artistic attributes of said cards within your 2026 version of Sammich's Peasant Cube, which has crushed it at CubeCon. It has been, people have adopted it. They love it. It does have, and there are naysayers. I'm going to go and say there are naysayers, just like with the powered vintage cube. There are naysayers that are sort of against the idea of the min-maximum of Peasant and the the ceiling floor of the Pauper. These three little subgroups that have become kind of, I'm running this card that's broken in this environment because it got banned from Pauper. I'm running this card in this environment because it got downgraded from a certain rarity subset and then became uncommon, like a Gonti or whatever, and has made its way into your cube. You have certain, like a subset of players that are not attracted to that most pushed version of an environment, and then roll up the idea of Spiderman and whatever. How do you manage this in 2026?
Well, can I follow on that? I would argue that the purpose of Peasant and Pauper, when you do have these rarity restricted cubes, is to explore just how far you can push the boundary as far as power by limiting yourself to that rarity level. So I almost think that is a separate conversation to the aesthetics, right? And I would never fault someone for saying, I don't want to put, even if it's powerful, I don't want to put like a Spiderman card in my cube, my Peasant or Pauper cube, even though it's got a high power level, because I just don't vibe with the aesthetics, right? You do you. But I still feel like, at least for Chris, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I've always felt, going back to what you said, Anthony, that you are the person that's trying to push those boundaries. Maybe arguably to a fault. We're not going to get into Mother of Runes again, I promise you. But that's kind of what you... And I love that because I feel like that's produced just some amazing cubes.
Yeah, the way I look at it is you build what you want. There are definitely many peasant cubers who stay away from the universes beyond, and that's totally fine. If that's what they don't want to. They don't ever have a spider bite, whatever the heck the name of that card is.
I love that card, and it's in my fam cube.
I love it too. Or a Spiderman or a Spider UK or something in their cube.
I
they don't
hate
want
that
them in
card.
their cube. Don't put them in their cube. I love that card.
I told you. Spider UK, I said the only person who actually played that in your cube was Stu, and he didn't show up that night. So everybody should just put it in the down pool because we can't draft that card.
Oh, no. Stu was there. But guess who drafted it? It was this guy. It was this guy. I drafted it.
Hello.
But anyway.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is I will try to build a fun cube that's interactive, that, yes, it's going to have some powerful cards in it, but I will consider cutting more powerful things that are unhealthy for the environment. I did, in fact, cut Mother of Runes after it was kicking and screaming all the way, but I did cut Mother of Runes eventually. And actually, I do feel the cube is better for it. I really do feel that the cube is better for it. I hate to eat crow like that, but y'all were right. Again, and it's not just you. It wasn't just you guys saying it. There were other peasant groups out there like Jank Divers and things like that have their own peasant cube that were saying the same thing, and they're correct, just like you guys were correct that Mother of Runes has no place in this cube right now, even though it isn't the end all and be all. You have to 2-for-1 yourself to kill it, basically.
It may actually, with the advent of Universe Beyond and the injection of commander cards, because you explore all these different genres of Magic, right? Or whatever Horizon sets or modern whatever this or whatever downgrades we get. Mother Runes maybe in the next year and a half may be laughable at this point, right? I mean, Giver Runes might get downgraded, and that might actually fix that problem. And we don't want to harp on that too much, but it's interesting because of the elevation of the min-maxing, and that's ultimately what happens with these type cubes. It's a choice that you have made. This is not a time-vaulted cube. It's not restricted to aesthetics of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever may come out, right? Or Star Trek that may create some warp mechanic that's insane. Complexity is almost like the vintage cube, but the next tier down, at least the way you actually design and curate this cube. That's where you're pushing the thresholds of uncommon, just like you would do with rare and mythic if it were accessible to you by your own personal restriction.
Yeah, I try to push the boundaries of what I could do. Now, I am not running. There are certain cards I'm not running that I feel are insanely unhealthy for a cube. Like Skull Clamp is uncommon for reasons. And, then you have cards like, hell, even Library of Alexandria is playable in this. Wasteland's playable. Strip Mine is playable. I just decided a long time ago there were certain cards I wasn't going to run, but I was going to push up to that. Like, I'm also not running Demonic Tutor or Force of Will. But because Force of Will probably would be okay, in all honesty. Force of Will most likely would probably be okay. But I just felt it wasn't needed. It's just not necessary for this cube. But someday that could change. But that as more Universes Beyond gets added that are more powerful, because that seems to be the way it goes, that the Universes Beyond cards are just more powerful, especially things like 40K and Lord of the Rings. And the Avatar set's been great. The Spider-Man set was what? It had like 5 cards that were good. But it's as the cards get better and better, Force of Will becomes better and better. You know what I mean? And it might become more necessary.
The card quality actually increases. The threat assessment increases. Yeah, I get that because it's scalable.
So Force of Will I've resisted putting it in for a long time. And it's just been one of those cards that I said, a long time ago, I was like, I don't ever want to put that in here. I feel like that's a vintage cube staple. It needs to stay where it is. And this needs to be different. But as cards have gotten more and more, just more efficient, better, it's become possible that something like that could and should go in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, and that's something I have to consider. Then, I'm going to be considering that in the next, 6 months or so, or, whatever. It doesn't mean it will happen, but it does mean it could happen. It used to be off the table completely. Now it's not. It is on the table. It is completely a discussion point that we could have. That Force of Will could go into a cube like this. Demonic Tutor could go in, even though I probably won't ever put that in. But, I've stayed away from tutors in general in these cubes.
So,
yes, Anthony.
Post-CubeCon 2025, that's where we're at now, and this has already been featured, what, 2-3 times? 3 times, right? Am I wrong?
This is the third time. Yeah,
third time. So you've got a lot of data and feedback,
and
while the masses are growing, you get less play. That's just the nature of what happens in a large event.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you're doing this. This will be post Ravenfest at this point. But Ravenfest, we're actually and Uber Cubathon Invitational. We're going to actually try to get this more and more kind of integrated into that, because this type of cube requires tuning, requires player feedback, requires that dynamic of personalities, and it's not just simply tailored to the people you play with every Thursday, right? There's more to it than that. And you are actively involved in Peasant Discord at this point, and you are interacting. Am I incorrect in that statement?
I'm not interacting as much as I would like. It's just I don't have time a lot of the time. I go into it and I realize there's been many, many conversations. But what I've done is I've gone back and looked at a lot of what they're saying about a lot of these cards, because they're very active in talking about certain cards. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of cards printed every year. So the past couple of years, I've just missed some cards. Just absolutely missed some. And
I'm gonna put a pressure point on you. I actually would want to encourage you, and this is something I want. Yeah. I should have probably sidebarred this, but I'm gonna throw it at you. I actually want to work with you to do a little bit more writing on Peasant in particular, and Pauper for that matter.
Sure.
Like, put your thoughts on paper, help you organize it. I'm not saying every set release, but I think that would be healthy, because people actually look at you as an authority figure, because you do get a lot of reps. You get more than most people do. This cube gets played a lot of playtesting data, even though it's a small little subset, and you get to go to events. I think there's worth and value in the idea of what you've received, because at this point, if you think about it, you've been exposed to a pod of sometimes 14, 15, 16, and then you go to events, and it might be 32. You've done 64s. Yep. You've done multiple of, like, CubeCons at this point, so you've had exposure on what people think. So, like, that critical analysis and that feedback from the player perspective is actually important. It helps, like, I guess, shore up this idea of how you look at this cube, because you're big into interaction. You're big into pressing the thresholds of cards. Like, right? You're talking about Force of Will, right? You're pushing things a little harder. With a little short band list. You're not. So our good friend Emma Partlow, we have to have her on again. I've been chatting with her again. But she actually embraces the idea of the Library of Alexandria, the Sylvan Library, or you get where I'm going with this. Like all the before rarity type stuff, right?
Some of the more powerful uncommons,
Yeah, but do they really impact this type of environment? Like overarching, if you interject like these alpha and beta cards and so on and so forth, they didn't have these rarity symbols on them. How much do they warp an environment for you when you're kind of already pressing the idea of like Spider Bite and these things? It's not Man of War anymore, it's Spider Bite. And for the people listening to that, look it up yourself, but you're already pushing the idea of Peasant Cube a little further. You're at the peaks of Magic in this genre of uncommon.
One thing that I haven't run are things like Fast Mana, like Soul Ring and stuff like that as well, of course, because, Soul Ring is Soul Ring. But I also don't run things like Monarch or Initiative, which are totally available to run in this environment. We don't even run them on a Power Cube anymore at this point. They run the Initiative in that. I would be bonkers in this environment. But things like you mentioned, like Sylvan Library, no, I do not believe that's an overly busted card that would break this format in any way.
I'm barely wanting to run it in my Power Vintage Cube at this point.
Right,
I'm actually cutting it. I've got this new card. I'm cutting it.
I can't even remember the last time I saw Sylvan Library.
It's getting cut Monday. Yeah. I love and adore that card, but it's getting cut Monday for a card that just came out recently with this new set, Lorwyn Eclipsed. I kind of want to move on. You did a massive change. Well, first off, you're Happy New Year, everyone. I've been mulling over a lot of changes since CubeCon 2025, and after recently joining a Peasant Cubers Discord, I've tried to move away from large updates recently. I'm not going to read all that. One of the things you've talked about me a lot is you want to increase game pieces.
Yep.
What is the game piece? What is the affection towards additional game pieces, treasures, clues, vials of blood. I don't even remember what it's called, but you see what I'm doing.
Right. Blood tokens. They're called blood tokens. But
vials of blood.
So what,
is it O negative, by the way? Question mark.
AB positive.
Could everybody use it? Okay, I just want to make sure.
No. So one of the things that I really like in Magic is when you do things, they make things. You know what I mean? It's like you play a thing, it makes additional things. And if you're able to somehow replay that said thing, you can get more things. You know what I mean? And then you can use those things to do other things. It's kind of, that's very general and everything. I don't want to be very specific, but that's kind of what I really like about it. And I'm moving toward a more trinket-based cube, and I like the idea. I'm doing it kind of slow. I'm not going to kind of inundate it because I don't really like there's food-based strategies at Peasant that I don't really like. I don't like the massive life gain that can happen from that. So I want to figure out another way, like getting like more clues or more treasures or more blood tokens, things like that can help with that, because it would be kind of, I have several water bending cards now that would really like to have those in it, you know, kind of, that would really like to have that. I could also.
Why do I want to run that in my cube? Because I have no idea what that means. What does that mean?
So what water bending is, you pay a cost of whatever the mana value is, and then you water bend X. And water bending X can either be with mana or tapping, I believe, creatures or artifacts. It's kind of like improvise and convoke combined. It's kind of like both combined. So right now there's like a 4/5 flyer I added in called Benevolent River Spirit that costs 2 blue, but has water bending 5. So if you can cast it early by having, like, say, a Thraben Inspector on turn 1, Thraben Inspector turn 1, then turn 2 and 3 you play a couple of blue mana. At turn 2 you might play a Nord's Inquisitor, and then you're casting that. You're able to cast that benevolent thing, a 4/5 flyer that's class 2 when it enters on turn 3, because you can tap all those game pieces that you made. So it's just kind of a neat way to play the game, in my opinion, that I've really kind of embraced, and a lot of people are moving toward that in the Peasant environment, from what I've noticed.
So you're increasing the game pieces, the accountability of the players. They have to read more, they have to know more. Read the card doesn't explain the card. External game pieces, we talked about that in your Exile files. I'm asking the question, like, how are you still accounting for people who understand Peasant the way it was, I don't know, circa 10 years ago, and now you're introducing, like, additional game pieces, because it's like ratcheting up a complexity.
The future is now, old man.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
But here's the thing. The game pieces aren't really changing. They're the same game pieces you've been playing forever. You're just making more of them. We're not doing really a whole lot of different tokens. We're doing like tokens that you already know exist.
Blood
like
tokens
clues.
aren't new. You know, clues aren't new.
Tokens. Yeah, clue, blood, food. There's food as well. There's a few of them, but I'm not putting like I don't know if I'm putting Peregrine Took. He's a green creature that makes food, but there's an infinite combo with him too, with the Nuka-Cola vending machine, which is from Fallout. So that's another universe. 2 universes beyond cards that make an infinite mana. They make an infinite card draw, I think. Something of that nature.
Like, you are managing like an eternal world, right? Like you're getting introduction of borderline commander-esque type cards, and they're very powerful in a Peasant. Like, so the Nuka-Cola vending machine struggles in a Power Vintage Cube. Like min-maxing, pushing to the highest level, 360 of the greatest, most powerful broken magic. But now you're acquiescing, you're stepping back, you're moving to a different genre, and now you're going to the most powerful ranks of uncommon. And now you're getting this internal world, and you get this universes beyond. I just want to really understand how are you seeing this through the player's eyes? Is it ratcheting up of complexity for the sake of complexity's sake to push that ceiling? Or how are you being mindful of the people that have to traverse your entire environment? They have to see this. They have to read these cards. The time involved with understanding every single interaction, is that rewarding, or is that like a detriment?
Okay, I'll make this comment. I think you're making the same parallel that you are to people who will maybe look at something like Minsk and Boo or Fourth Eolingus or anything modern that's in a vintage cube, right? Magic is changing, right? The envelope is pushable and is being more pushed at a power level, regardless of what the rarity symbol is on it. And you have the choice of either embracing that as a peasant curator or a pauper curator or even a vintage cube curator. You can go all the way back and talk about things like initiative and time vault and demonic consultation that people choose not to put in their vintage cube. And you have this option. You can not put it in your vintage cube. You can put Mother of Runes and all these other bunkers powerful. It just depends on what you're trying to create. I would argue that the complexity for someone like Chris, who is a peasant and pauper master, is not whether or not you want to include them. It's how do you balance the cards that have come post 2017, 2018 that even at, peasant and pauper levels have got now 2 and 3 lines of text and do all this fun stuff, compared to the cards from yesteryear that will be a bit more nostalgic for those players, but yet simplify the environment to make it more, old school peasant and pauper-esque. And I feel like, Chris, I'll if I could make this assumption of you, that you are one that's willing to more push those boundaries and embrace those higher power and more complex environments.
Oh, absolutely. I'm willing to embrace a more complex environment. I understand where Anthony's coming from, but what this cube encourages you to do is you need to take game actions to win and to play, to do anything, really. And, you can't just, we're not doing battle cruiser stuff anymore. You know what I mean? We're encouraging, we are encouraging game actions. We're encouraging you to do things on every turn. Use your mana wisely, to don't just sit back because you'll probably get run over. But, I've embraced 2020, now 2026 Magic. I've decided I'm just going to embrace it. It's just like I tried to fight it recently, a while back, and I realized there's just no point. It's just I want to embrace it, move forward, and move the cube into 2026. And that's why I made like a 30-card swap recently, because I normally don't try to do that. I've really tried to get away from doing those kind of big swaps. Our friend Bill, he makes like 80-card swaps.
I know, 30 cards. Those are rookie numbers, man. You got to push those numbers up a little bit.
Complexity push that you've been doing, I've been observing. I'm just sitting back and relaxing, doing the Anthony thing. I've noticed that like your cubes have been embracing Cogwork Librarian. Like it's become a thing that you're doing now. Because you require 2 pieces to make one. It's almost like, what was your British girl band that you did for a little while? You're a big fan of it.
Spice Girls?
Spice Girls, yeah.
Bananarama?
Huge fan, yeah. Spice Girls specifically.
Okay.
Well,
I'm more of a Bananarama
you had
fan,
to get 2 cards. Yeah, it's 2 hearts make 1.
Yeah.
Little reference there. But Cogwork Librarian's been showing up a lot. Is this because you've pushed... You need A plus B to complete C. I mean, I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this in your designs.
It's got to be in there for the fun, man.
You are reading.
Fun.
I don't think it's fun. I think it's a dead card once you've drafted it. What's the point?
Cogwork is incredible.
What do you do with it? Like outside of my artifact cube, where you sacrifice and construct. It's just
as you draft a card, you may draft an additional card from that booster pack. If you do, put Cogwork Librarian into that booster pack.
And then it's not a playable Magic card except from an artifact cube, where you can sacrifice artifacts to get a construct that's better.
It is a draft card.
It's
a draft card.
You are reading way too much into this, Anthony.
Dead card outside the draft.
Oh, it is. I love it.
It is absolutely. So, Anthony, tell me the last time you played all 45 of your cards.
Yesterday when I drafted nothing but
non-basic.
Dude, I drafted non-basics. I had like 4 cards left. I did the 5-color good stuff.
Though.
It was like 4 cards. It really wasn't a sideboard. It was just cards. They were cards. I haven't really experienced this enough, but like my struggle is I just really think the power creep that you're doing, pushing, going to the universe and beyond, pushing the envelope, is it really encouraging this behavior of, well, you better draft the best cards while you're in here. It's almost like the draft, and I know the draft matters. The draft matters more than the deck building. The draft matters more than the gameplay. Because if you don't get the key cards... my question is for you, what point do we scoop during the draft? Like, well, my deck sucks, I scoop.
Well,
no, because not everybody has the same cards. Right?
Here's the thing. What I would encourage people to do when you're drafting this cube, you see a card in there that does a thing that you like to do, and it does it fairly well, and it has worked in the past for you, take it. It'll probably go well for you. You know what I mean? It's like don't sweat that too much. You're sweating this way too much. That's you know what I mean? It's just like it's like
I'm just creating conversation, man.
I know, but I'm like, woo, all right.
Well, let me ask you a question. So you and I had this interesting debate. What was the Avatar card versus the bird conversation you and I had?
Oh, it was Empyrean Eagle. You're talking about Aeronomid Legacy versus Empyrean Eagle.
So I have a subset of cards that I actually want to talk about. This was a recent debate that we had at a play test that we did. It was forceful because at the time we're getting ready for Ravenfest, right? And it was a Flyers Matters card that was brought to my attention. This is the type of Magic I'm looking at versus what I'm seeing. And this is Universe of Beyond injecting, in addition to additional game pieces, the philosophy of it. And what I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to ask Chris to name the two cards. It was a cut, and could you read the cut? It was an Avatar card that you replaced it with. I actually wanted to talk this out, the situation, because this is the type of critical thinking that you and I do. Like, everybody else is having fun playing Magic and embracing the Magic, and you and I are just always on.
Okay, so I think I might have led you a little bit astray with this as well. You pointed out that you were questioning Air Nomad Legacy, which is the Avatar card. It's a blue and a white enchantment. When it enters, create a clue. Creatures you control with flying have +1/+1. So it's just a little enchantment that only costs 2. It's and everything in it, and it makes a clue when it comes in. You were mentioning Empyrean Eagle, which is just a blue-white 1, I believe 2/2 flyer, and you give +1/+1 to all your flying creatures. And the thing about that is that card's actually been out of my cube for quite a long time. I ran a card called Plumecreed Mentor before that, and that was a 3/3 flyer for 1 blue and a white, where when Plumecreed Mentor, another creature you control flying enters, put a counter on target creature you control without flying. So it was actually worse than that, and it played okay, but it wasn't great. So in all honesty, I have not run Empyrean Eagle in quite a long time.
Well, the idea was that you had a flyer that bolstered your flyers. It was very
right, and I did a long time ago.
Cut to the chase. It was very distinct in the idea that it's a flyer and it bolstered your other flyers, which is like a weird subset that you'll see in Peasant, right? Like evasion matters. I mean, call it what it is, right? And then introduce Avatar that has this enchantment that makes you a clue, which is the additional game piece. But then, oh, by the way, it bolsters your flyers. It felt really weird because it can't go into attacks. It's an enchantment. It does nothing outside of making you a clue. And oh, by the way, I hope you have flyers. And that was my challenge point that I had when we actually talked about it. Like, if you're going to do flyers, signal something that has flyers. Look, we're trying to be organic with this actual interaction, but then you go in this weird mesh that I'm struggling to actually.
I mean, to me, it says all your flyers get +1/+1. It does basically the same thing.
I wanted a flyer that can actually go into combat. That actually, so anthems are a little dead in the whole world of Magic. We know this at this point. But what I was questioning was the enchantment comes in, and it has to have this very particular subset of cards that have that particular evasion effect of flying, in addition to, well, I make you a clue. And so I'm just paying Azorius to make a clue? Question mark?
Again,
just
I'm
because?
Not saying Air Nomad's Legacy is by all means.
No. You actually replaced it at this point because we argued enough that you have a Spiderman card that's going in there, right?
I didn't replace that card with that. I replaced another Spider-Man card. I replaced Cloud Blazer with the Spider-Man card.
Yeah, Cloud Blazer was another whole conversation we had too. But
Cloud Blazer was, and we had a conversation about Cloud Blazer being very clunky in 2026, and I totally agree with that. And so I put in a big beefy Spider-Man guy that puts counters on things.
It really sucks when we just can't play Magic and you and I are doing content creation the whole time. We can't. Like, I'm the only person at the table challenging you. I sound like I'm the Cry Wolf guy, but ultimately I'm trying to help your cubes and not just play your cubes, and pushing the limits a little bit, right? As Stu does. And what advice would you give to Peasant Cube curators as we move into 2026? Embrace more game pieces, do more min-max? Where are we at?
Play whatever makes you, I mean, seriously, and I mean, this is something stupid, just play what makes you happy. I mean, seriously, if you like all the game pieces, by all means, go for it. If you like traditional, what a cube looked like in 2018, do that too. But the thing you can make a cube that's like your 2018 cube today. There are cards that will do it. The Black Braid Baby, sure, yeah. But I'm not even talking. I'm talking about using new cards. You can make like a peasant cube that is lower power with new cards and continue to update it. That just won't be as efficient or anything like that. But that's okay if that's what you want to do. It's just I personally like where Magic is going with some of the way the gameplay is going, especially in the peasant. I have a big complaint about Pauper, by the way, because their commons have been really stinkers lately. They've been on some really bad commons lately. They're just awful.
I think 2 mana buff your team is not a bad effect, not a bad cost. It's unexciting. It's incredibly unexciting. It's uninspiring. Is it a bad effect? Not necessarily.
Slot equity matters to me, so I'd just rather do something more.
But I would like to see that in a wider value statement, right? Rather than just, hey, if you've got 2 flyers, you get to do 2 extra damage, or you get to fend off creatures that have got 2 extra damage, right? And maybe that is more context driven for where Magic is going, that lords and lord effects can be powerful, right? But are they really what people are looking for in 2026?
No. Remove them, blow out your whole army. Done. Blocks are great.
But
enchantment is a little better than creature. I get that.
Well, that was my other point, right? It's an enchantment. It's much more difficult to remove. So then you've got a lasting effect. And I would even argue, in addition, the fact that you're getting a clue out of it, which means you can replace it.
For 4 mana.
For pure value.
Turns, it draws you a card.
Yeah, for 4 mana, you've got +1/+1 to all of your flyers and a card.
Yeah, that card felt super awkward to me. But let's move over to the socials. That's how close it.
So, all right.
I heard.
Last but not least, you've replaced Proud Pack Rhino. You've also replaced Dog Umbra. You've also replaced Gurmag Angler. Do you feel like you're mating?
I have reasons.
Okay, but do you feel like your latest update is extremely harsh towards animals and fisher people?
Yes. It's because I hate them with every fiber of my being.
I'm adding this to the deep cuts.
In real life and in Magic. So, yes.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. I have a dog and 2 cats. Please don't hate me. It's like, not at all. Not at all. I got reasons for all of them. The Angler I cut because it's still a good card, but the deck that really, really wants it also wants the stuff to be in the graveyard. It's like, and the same thing with Hooting Mandrills. It just, the one thing I've noticed is as we move forward in time and get new cards, and cards change based on, whatever, as y'all have said in the past, context matters, and everything. And the way that as the cube updates, as cards start to be able to move into less and less archetypes, they become less and less necessary for the cube, less and less to be in the cube. I want cards that can be more widely used, and like one thing I have moved away from is a plus one counter theme that just kind of dumps counters on one thing, because it's very glass cannony. All it takes is one Doomblade and that creature's dead.
Yes, thank you.
All that work is gone.
That has been the death of me on more than one occasion. And I will comment on this as well. When it's just a couple of pieces that have been changed, okay, it's fairly straightforward. Look at the couple of cards and see what the decision-making process was. When I look at a very large change, so actually the list of changes that we're referring to, anyone who has access to Cube Cobra, which is anybody with a web browser, go and follow Sammich and take a look at this Peasant Cube. This was just an update that was made a couple of weeks ago. One of the things that sticks out to me when I see a huge change like this on the cubes that I follow, and even I would argue for my own cube, I look at all the cards that have changed, and then sort of take that as column A, and then what their replacements are as column B. When I look at column A as the sum of its parts with all these changes, there is very few cards that I don't recognize. There may be none that I don't recognize. And I would say that as much as I'm familiar with the Peasant Cube, there's a lot of really, really well-known cards on that list, right? So Adanto Vanguard, Sunblessed Healer, Abzan Falconer, Dog Umbra, Into the Royal, Skinrender, like these, Gurmag Angler, like you mentioned, these are very, very established Magic cards. But then I look at the list in column B, and I'm unfamiliar with any of them. And that might be just as a symptom of the fact that I don't keep as much up with the newer sets. But to me, that screams that this is I'm taking the very established echelon of cards and I'm replacing it with a list of cards that is outside of just, I want to dump a bunch of new powerful cards. This always screams to me, I want to make a wholesale gameplay change effect to this cube that is going to change potentially how the entire cube changes. Is that? And I feel like, tell me if that's kind of what you're going for.
That is pretty much exactly kind of what happened here. Like, there's a lot of cards that came in that are just newer cards. I'm not surprised you haven't heard of a lot of them because they're out of newer sets. One being, which is probably one of my favorites, the favorite editions was like Nord's Inquisitor.
Yes.
That's a favorite. That's
Love
a really
that
good card. Yeah. And also one thing that I have noticed in this cube, and I've got a few cards in here that are hanging on by an absolute thread in the cube. Anything like a 3-1. If you notice, I cut 2 3-1s. I cut the Adanto Vanguard and the Sunblessed Healer. They just aren't cutting it anymore.
No, the opportunity, the cost is not good, is it?
I'm playing my Adanto Vanguard. Cool. My opponent says cool. I will play this Carrot Cake, and I'll make a 1/1. Oh, and I'll scry and I'll make another 1/1. Or better yet, I'll return it to my hand and make another 1/1.
Yeah, how much life are you willing to pay to save your 3-1 that doesn't do anything else other than attack for 3 damage?
Correct. And the Sunblessed Healer turned out to be a 4-drop that just wasn't that great. It just wasn't great. And things like Barb Spike is really good. Barb Spike is right in line with what I want to do, but Dragoon's Lance is just a better version of that.
Yeah, agreed.
Because it is just, I love Job Select, by the way. Job Select is incredible. One of my favorite mechanics out of Final Fantasy. But yeah, and like I said, I've just moved, and Dog Umbra is another one I cut. You mentioned that earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, Dog Umbra was cut because there's blink effects. There's things like the Skyfishers. It makes Dog Umbra not good. It makes pacifism effects. Now, ossification is much better because it goes on your land. They can't touch it unless they do something. There are ways to do it, but there's, they have to, and Citizen's Crowbar is one I cut a long time ago. And I'm not sure why. I'm glad I put it back in. It's one of those ones I missed having in there. But the one card that's actually hanging on by an absolute threat is Cathar Commando. That card.
Wow.
I have an explanation.
Because that card's dumb.
Cathar Commando in a power cube is incredible. Is a really good card in a power cube. Yes, it is. It destroys enchantments, destroys all the artifacts, because there's so many more artifacts running around in there. In this one, your targets aren't as good. And there's also, I have like 4 or 5 other effects that do that in there. And again, you play the Cathar Commando, it's like, cool, I will sacrifice my Carrot Cake, make a 1/1. Now your 3/1 sucks. You know what I mean? It's just like, so, and there's so many token makers in this cube, so many 1/1s that I'm keeping it in for now because I like the disenchant effect, but it's just one of those ones that I look at it every time and I'm like, this isn't as good as it used to be in Peasant. It's good in other cubes. It's really good in like a power environment, in my opinion. The higher power level your cube is, the better it is.
Yeah, when you need that effect. And I think the reason why I was asking that, the reason why I brought up that statement in the first place about the column A and the column B, is because I wanted that to be a part of this episode, was for you to kind of go into detail when you're making a large change like that. It's not just about individual cards. It's not just about, even from someone that really does care about that power maxing and kind of pushing the boundaries, so much of the time it's about how do I make a large change list that improves not just the draft experience and the play experience, but every aspect of the cube, right? And this is something that I feel like is such a, maybe it's an understated skill, right? Because I don't know if I could go in there into my cube and just change 30 cards, even just to update it to newer cards without really having to sit down and scratch my noodle for a very long period of time. So really just kind of goes to show how skilled you are as a curator. And this cube, as Anthony mentioned, Peasant, Pauper as well, real staples in our group, and staples at CubeCon. Like, it really does go to show just how incredible that the curation is for these cubes. So thank you very much for that. That was a really great explanation.
Yeah, it's like, and I when I go through these, I'm sure Anthony does the same thing. When we're thinking about each individual change, we're not just doing it because we really just don't. Sometimes changes happen on the fly, but other times this one took a while to work out as to what I want and what I wanted to do. I realized I couldn't do it in like 5 cards. I had to do this in a big. I didn't want to, because I'll be honest, I really didn't want to do a big update. But part of me said the only way to make this work and put the cube where I want it. There's the only way to.
It's to change 30 plus cards. Yeah,
I typically don't do. I don't do 10% changes unless we like go into a plane or a set of Magic that beckons me, like Kaladesh or whatever, right? That says artifacts 10%. Otherwise, I get it.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much again, Chris. A huge thanks, not just for coming on the show, but for all the effort that you put into the cubes that are such staples in our group. It is absolutely my pleasure, as well as everyone else, to be able to enjoy these. I would say week in, week out, but it's almost like a month or so in and out for me.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, but the pleasure really is all mine. So thank you again for taking the time to come hang out with us today.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for having me on. This was fun. I enjoyed it.
Tell everybody where they can reach you, because I really do feel like, for all that Peasant, Pauper, and anyone else that's interested in any of the cubes that you have showcased on this show and at CubeCon and everywhere else, tell everybody where they can reach you.
Phone number, address, social security
email,
number.
The whole
email. The whole thing. Mother's maiden name.
We'll just put that all in the show notes. We'll put it all in the show notes. It'll just be a picture of a middle finger. That's all.
Credit score. What's your FICA?
I am on Discord, of course. I believe I'm just Sammich on Discord. Just hit me up on there. That's where I'm at most of the time.
UberCube Discord, perhaps? Question mark.
No one goes there. No one goes there.
Anyway, CubeCon Discord, of course. You're silly. All right, as always, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to our patrons, to David, Richard, Wilsey, to Chris Fitzgerald, Timber Dragon, Brian Christensen, Keaton Schultz, Lord Justice Preston, and Sam McKenna. A big thank you to all you guys for helping us keep the lights on. As we mentioned recently, we're doing more community stuff, and we are really utilizing the support that we're getting from the community to just do better, do more for the communities that we support, veterans, marginalized people, children, whatever the case may be. We want to do more of that through 2026, so any support that we get from our community, we really do appreciate it, and much love to you guys. If you want to get in on the conversation, facebook.com/group/MTGCube, come get in on that. There's about 1,200 plus members there right now. Lots of cool conversations going on. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and say what we always say here on UberCube, which is Happy Cubing! If you want to reach out to either Anthony or myself, or even get in contact with Chris or any of our other guests, reach out to us at Twitter at UberCubeMTGPod or at Bluesky, UberCubeMTGPodcast.bsky.scotia at Bluesky. Bluesky.
Bluesky.social is fantastic. Keep it. I love that.
It's too late. Anthony's going to have to leave for me to finish this shit.